The Nova Guest List Podcast
with Kieran McGuinness.
The very best in indie, alternative and homegrown music from the seriously addictive Radio Nova.
Yeah, that is the brilliant Vernon Jane on Radio Nova with Fall For Me, and that's the new song off their new album Chest Pains and Side Pieces, their second album, and it comes out next Friday, and they're playing a gig in the Grand Social to launch it. It's Wednesday the 11th. We're very, very lucky because we have Emily Jane from Vernon Jane on the line. How you doing, Emily?
Hi, how are you?
Good, I'm good. How are you getting on? You had green eggs this morning, which sounds amazing.
Yes, I did, in Cloud Cafe, and it's delicious, and it's a nice place to eat. So thank you to them.
Excellent.
For delicious food.
Excellent start. So look, the album's coming out next Friday, Chest Pains and Side Pieces, your second album.
Yeah.
It must be like enormously exciting to finally have that out.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's exciting. It's either nerve-wracking or exciting or terrifying, but that's all the same thing, isn't it?
They're all very similar. They're similar vibes, yeah. So
yeah.
I suppose it's kind of mad because, I mean, for people who don't know, you released your debut album, Ritual of Lovemaking, at the start of COVID. You released it, I think, as far as I remember, it was like in that kind of month or whatever it was, and everything shut down, which must have just been bizarre to like have your first album come out in that period.
Yeah, it was kind of miserable. But it was kind of magic in some ways that, like, we had to figure out ways to, like, post it to people and figure out different ways to connect and do all that. But I wouldn't be the best at, like, social media and stuff. And so that was kind of difficult. But at least with this one now, like, you can actually go and play a gig and be like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. This is our album. Hopefully that's going to be a nice experience this time, because we didn't have it with the first one.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. But also, I suppose you're a brilliant live band. Vernon Jane, it goes between 4 people and 8 people, like brass players, backing vocalists. It's really energetic. It's really kind of exciting. To write an album in that way and then it not come out, it must even have been a kind of a step on of strangeness to write an album without being able to practice it first or play it live first.
Yeah, well, thank you for being nice about us. But yeah, we do. We love playing live, and the first album was so, like, steeped in just being together all the time, and those tracks then, like, getting to actually play them live after the pandemic was insane, because they felt so different because we'd all grown as people. And then with this one, it was more of an isolating process, and, like, just kind of in my room and sending things to people and hoping they'll get back eventually, you know, in between their lives being on fire, because the pandemic was terrible for everyone. Yeah, I think it kind of shows the consistency and the solidarity that we have as a band. Like, we got through both scenarios, which is nice. And I am looking forward to taking it all as it comes and enjoying the gig on Wednesday, and, like, enjoying putting the album out and not worrying too much, you know.
Yeah, well,
be in the moment.
Yeah, be in the moment, totally. Well, then there's the question, I suppose. So the album would have been written by you in your bedroom and sent to people and kind of pieced together, I assume. You know,
yeah.
I did a lot of that during the pandemic, in the last pandemic, in the most recent
the one
pandemic.
And only.
Yeah, and so it is weird then to play them live after that. When you found yourself playing songs that you wrote in your bedroom and pieced together, do they? Are you itching to take them somewhere else instantly?
I think personally I am as a songwriter, because I can always hear the other parts. I'm like, oh, that would be really cool. And particularly with drums, I'm like, oh my God, this needs drums. And then when you can't just instantly, you know, message your drummer, we're like, let's jam on Sunday or whatever, you know. And, like, I'm a very kind of, like, I love a band, and that's how I write. But it's funny now, we've all had to kind of relearn the album and how to play it, you know, and you're listening to yourself and going, what was I thinking? What was I playing on guitar? How did I play that? So that's been interesting with this one, because it was written during the pandemic and now we get to perform it, so you had to relearn it.
Yeah, I always find when I write songs, like, because I write a lot at night time, and then when I get into a room and play them, I find I nearly always have to change the keys, because when you're singing chest voice or something like that, it's like in the wrong key or whatever. Anyway, that's a side conversation. Let's chat about the new album, Chest Pains and Side Pieces. I think it's more reflective than the first album. I think there's maybe a kind of a connection with a sort of your emotion. Not that that doesn't exist in the first one, but it seems more naked in this album. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's so funny people hearing it now, because I think part of me feels it's not the second album I thought that would be written for us, and it is just, I do think it's more vulnerable and more exposed, because it's kind of just my day-to-day narrative about things, more so than one specific theme or one specific, feeling. This is kind of across the board. You wake up and you have something on your mind, and I just kind of wanted to get it out of my mind, so you'd write a song and you record it in your room and you don't think anyone will ever hear it, and then I kind of thought to myself, I'm in a place where I feel I can maybe share a bit more of myself and a bit more of my day-to-day thinking and things that, I'm going through, or things that were on my mind in a day that now they're in the song and I don't have to carry it anymore, So I do agree that maybe it's a bit more vulnerable in a different way than the first one.
Well, when I read the title and listened to the songs, I wasn't exactly sure where it connected. And then I think it is, and I hope it's okay to say, but so chest pains, there's a couple of things that brings to mind, but one of the things that brings to mind about vulnerability is, when you're dealing with kind of grief, or you're dealing with a sort of an ongoing pain, it ends up manifesting as a sort of a pain in your ribs. And I kind of felt the chest pains and side pieces angle being sort of the pain that you deal with every day, and then the side pieces are just the stuff that you kind of floating alongside, and you're kind of just the day-to-day stuff you're dealing with.
Well, I think you're on the money. You got it in one. No, I think the whole thing, I think the chest pains for me as part of the album is that I kind of experienced a big loss at the start of kind of writing the album, and that's the chest pains, and then the side pieces are all the little things you have to deal with while you're carrying this heavy weight. And for me it was carrying that grief, and I think it changes your perception of how you kind of navigate the world and all the little things that are normal for people in kind of their mid-20s and what you should be doing. But when you're experiencing something kind of quite heavy, you feel kind of weird trying to just do normal things. And I think I see the chest pains as a string all the way through the album, that each song it hits on it throughout each song, and then each song is its own little side journey of how I feel during the day about, I'm thinking about this thing or I'm thinking about that thing, and then the chest pain is just a string that's tying it all together. Yeah, so I mean, it helped me in some way, I guess, with my grief to articulate it a little bit, but I hope it'll be okay on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, I mean, Wednesday's the gig in the Grand Social, and really excited to hear the songs live. Going to be absolutely brilliant. And the album Chest Pains and Side Pieces is out next Friday, and I think a lot of people are just going to be taken away by the shift between the power of parts of it and the kind of vulnerability of parts of it, and it's a difficult thing to balance, and I think it does it really, really well. We're going to play a song.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, we're going to play a song called Origami off the new album, and I love this. For people who don't know your music, we played a little bit there. There's so much intricate stuff going on. This is another song that has a lot going on in it, sonically and I suppose thematically. Can you tell us a little bit about this before we play it?
I think someone once told me I'd never write a happy song. So I was like, whoa, you're so right. And then I was like, no, I'm going to write a happy song. And then Origami was born. And it always makes me visualize when I first met our guitar player Joe in college. He used to and he still does, he makes origami, and he makes insane origami, and he used to make dragons and leave them around. So he'd be like, oh, Joe's in college today. He's here somewhere. I'm going to go find him. I was like, it's kind of like a calling card for him. And he's around if you see an origami dragon. But it's kind of my take on, I don't know, taking something bad and making a fun song. And it is a happy song, I think, even though it's there's a little bit of sadness to it. It's a happy song. And so now I did write a happy song. It's possible.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you so much for chatting to us today on the Nova Guest List, and best of luck at the gig and best of luck with the album.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No bother. Let's play this. This is Origami by Vernon Jane on Radio Nova.
The Nova Guest List Podcast with Kieran McGuinness. The very best in indie, alternative and homegrown music from the seriously addictive Radio Nova.